He'll present the grievance process, followed by a message from our president.
Hello, let me get this thing started. My name is Brian Chen. It is my pleasure today, aside from the technical glitch here, to talk to you and to give you a general overview of how the grievance process and professional standards hearing process works. And this is a condensed version of the procedures that the association follows when receiving a grievance and professional standards complaint. First of all, it is a three-step process. To try to streamline the process, Western Gabriel has elected to enact an ombudsman program, and it is an optional program, of course. An ombudsman will be able to hear your side of the story, try to explain certain things to you. And then after that, if the parties still want to file grievance complaint, they need to file the grievance complaint filing and schedule for professional standards hearing. So, ombudsman program. What is the ombudsman program? It is an alternative dispute resolution program offered to members, clients, and consumers. And it can respond to general questions regarding real estate practices or unethical practices and enforcement issues. So it is a source of information, if you would. Explain the possible avenues that one might take to resolve the issue or achieve the desired outcome. That's what the ombudsman is trying to do, so it's heading off and saving you time by going through the somewhat lengthy, but it's about 3 to 4 months process of filing a grievance, schedule for a hearing, and so on. It is optional and voluntary, and many people use it because I personally received several calls for ombudsman calls, and I'm sure my other colleagues. There are several ombudsmans here present, and can the ombudsmans that's in this room please stand? Tom? And Lauren Clark is also one. And Sylvia? Oh, welcome.
I'm sorry, not ombudsman.
Okay, I didn't know. Anyway, so we take calls on rotating basis, and it's all volunteer work. Now, how does it work? You call the association. You provide some basic information to the staff, such as your name, your phone number, and other parties' name and phone number, and basic nature of the dispute. Remember, I said basic nature of the dispute. You do not tell your stories to the association staff because they're not there to handle your complaint calls. And then after the staff fill out the form, then they'll contact the ombudsman, and usually is assigned by the Grievance Committee Chair and the next person in line, and will take the call, and the ombudsman will call the person, call you, and tell you, you can tell your stories to him or her. So that's who you talk to, not the staff, because many times we hear from staff, oh, somebody was just talking for 15, 20 minutes and wouldn't let me get my information. So please, that's not the first. That's not your first contact. Your first contact is the ombudsman. And the ombudsman may ask you some questions and answer your questions. The ombudsman may call the other party if you authorize them to. And the ombudsman try to help both parties to reach a solution. And sometimes the ombudsman may advise you if you need to file a complaint against the respondent. The respondent is the other party. The person who's making the complaint, in this case, is called the complainant. What an ombudsman is not. Ombudsman is not a mediator. So don't misunderstand, oh, there will be the mediator to mediate the dispute. Okay? He or she acts only as a facilitator of communication between parties. Ombudsman is not an arbitrator. He or she does not make any monetary decisions. Ombudsman is not an attorney. he or she does not give legal advice. So don't try to get ombudsman to tell you what's legal, what's not, because we're not, as licensed realtors, we all know we cannot give legal advice. Okay, the grievance filing process. If the ombudsman program did not reach the desired result, because by the way, I said it was a voluntary program, correct? So the other party receiving an ombudsman call may simply refuse to talk to the ombudsman, although it's not very likely they do that. But they can. They can simply tell you, I don't want to tell you anything. I don't want to talk to you. Bye. Then that's the end of the ombudsman process. The next process will be filing a grievance complaint. You obtain a grievance complaint packet from the association staff. It may be intimidating because it contains the form and also code of ethics and also the MLS rules and regulations. Because in the complaint, you must cite the exact violations you allege the other party has committed against you. And you also have to write a clearly written statement of facts, as you believe it, okay? And describing what has happened and how you were wronged by the other party. So make your case in the paper form. You have to write out what happened, the chain of events, what happened, and includes all supporting documents. Send it back to the association. So once the association receives the packet back from you, the association will forward to the grievance committee chair to say who should be serving on the 3-member grievance committee review panel. And the grievance chair will assign 3 persons to the case. And then they'll schedule a date where the 3 people come and meet and review your packet, review your story, and determine whether or not what you have cited matches the chain of events and your complaint, making sure that it's applicable to your complaint. And in some very rare cases, if the violation is so egregious that the grievance committee can actually step in and add more violations, after they read the statement of facts from the complainant, they realize there's other violations, they could, if they choose to, okay, it's at their discretion, to add additional violations cited. And then they can forward the complaint to the Pro Standards Committee, Professional Standards Committee, for scheduling of a hearing. Now, if the complaint does not match the statement of facts, or it does not match the violation cited, the grievance committee may refer the case back to the complainant for modification. And sometimes people, by that time, they have cooled and calmed down, and they may have just dropped the whole thing. Okay. Okay, I already mentioned that. Rare cases, they will review and add additional violation. Okay. The entire process is very confidential. We're not allowed to talk about who has filed a grievance complaint against who. So is the hearing. Nothing is mentioned, in anywhere. We cannot talk about it. The panelist must recuse himself or herself if there is a conflict of interest that exists. In other words, if one of my friends is involved, I have to say, oh, I'm sorry, I cannot sit on the panel because I'm personally, I have a friendship or relationship or working relationship, people from the same company. We will recuse ourselves from hearing. I have to mention something. If an ombudsman touched the call at the beginning, that ombudsman will not sit on the grievance review panel because he's already been exposed to one side of the story. Remember, haven't heard from the other side. and he already has a predisposition of beliefs or facts, so he is not qualified to review for fear of bias against the respondent. So the whole process is done with the utmost care to preserve neutrality, okay? And now we get to the professional standards hearing. Professional standards hearing is done by the Professional Standards Committee. The committee chair has a panel of committee members who is qualified to serve on the professional standards hearing. And they will select 4 people. They will select four people. So why do we have professional standards hearing? Number one is, of course, to discipline members who violate ethical standards or MLS rules and regulations. But at the same time, we need to preserve the due process rights of the parties. At the same time, try to maintain and preserve high level of professional and ethical integrity in our industry. This is a quote directly from CAR.org regarding due process. Why is it important? The right of a private organizations to discipline members and to conduct dispute resolution is conditioned by law on ensuring the due process to all parties as recognized by 5 elements. So there's 5 elements to preserve due process. Number 1 is the right to a full and fair hearing. Number 2, before an impartial tribunal. And number 3, with the knowledge of the charges against him or her. So the tribunal has to understand how the industry works, understand the charges, and can effectively render a decision. Also has the opportunity to defend himself or herself. And of course, the right to an attorney. And I'll talk about that in our hearing. Now we get to the hearing process. Now, by this time, maybe 2 or 3 months already passed because there's notification period, there's grievance review period, and then sent forward to Professional Standards Committee for scheduling of a hearing, and both parties have to notify 21 days in advance and all that. So by the time we get to a hearing, it may be 3 months, maybe 4 months, depending on the schedule. So the Professional Standards panel consists of 4 persons selected from the Professional Standards Committee. A 3-person hearing panel is called tribunal. I think you also heard it from our Code of Ethics, a tribunal. That means 3 people with 1 alternate. That alternate operates the recorder. By the way, it's a cassette recording. The old recorder, okay? They record the entire hearing process. And both sides, the complainant and the respondent, have opportunity to present their witnesses, evidence, testimonies, and also opportunity to rebut the other side's claims, okay? Attorneys can be present to advise their clients, and at the discretion of the tribunal, may be allowed to speak for his or her client. Now let me tell you, this is not a trial. This is not a court of law. So a lot of times, attorney is used to be the aggressive process of trying to attack the other side. And at this time, the tribunal may step in and say, excuse me, but please present straight to the point, please. And sometimes the tribunal, if the attorney is out of hand, the presiding officer may simply tell the attorney to stop and continue with the rest of the witnesses. So it is a controlled process, okay? How is the decision made and delivered? The decision is not made right there on the spot. After both sides present finish presenting their evidences, testimonies, witness testimonies, and rebuttals, they will be excused. The tribunal will meet in private to discuss all the facts that they have discovered during the hearing and deliberate and render their decisions and finding of facts in writing. And then the decisions and finding of facts will be sent to both parties. Now, after receiving the decision, either party has 15 days after receiving the decision and finding of facts packet from the association to request, well, sort of like an appeal, but in our case, it's not called an appeal. It's called a request for review. But after the 15 days period expired, the decision will then be forwarded to the board of directors for ratification at the next board of director, regularly scheduled board of director meeting. So if the hearing is right after this month's board of director meeting, the board of director will not review this case until, to ratify this case until next monthly scheduled board of director meeting. Now, the appeal is not a new hearing, so understand that it is purely a procedural review of the original hearing. It's called a request for review. So following the request for review at the association office, the request is then sent to the board of directors because the review panel is not selected from the pro standards. It is selected among the board of directors itself. So your board of directors will select 3-member panel to review the evidence and listen to the recording of the hearing. They're not trying to retry the case from the back seat. They're trying to find whether or not all procedural is properly administered during the hearing. If they find any procedural inappropriateness, they will find in favor of the appeal, and a new hearing will be set up. And if the appeal panel finds no procedural issues in the hearing, the appeal will be denied. That means the review will simply say the decision is reaffirmed, and then be ready to send to the board of directors for ratification. Once the board of directors ratifies the decision is final, okay, and it will be sent to CAR. The disciplinary may consist of any of all of the following. Maybe as simple as a letter of reprimand be placed in the violator's file for a period of time, maybe 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. It depends how the tribunal rule. Or require to complete a class of code of ethics. So the person will have to sit through, and sort of like a traffic school, they have to sit through a code of ethics course. Maybe they will assess a fine in the amount of $100 and up. It could be as much as $25,000. Although it's rare, but the maximum fine the association can issue is $25,000. They can even suspend the membership for a period of time, such as 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, okay? On rare occasions, if usually after the DRE revokes the person's license, they will revoke the membership as well, okay? Now, the violations after sent report to CAR, the decision and finding of the facts, CAR will post it on the CAR website, which is a member section, not the public section. So you have to log in to be able to see it. And I'll show you where to find it, okay, in the website. It's really easy to do. So all violations will be posted there with the violator's photo, okay? So if you have nothing to do on a on a boring Friday night, no dates, go there and check it out. Okay? You will be able to see what happened in that case. So you can learn from them. Many of us find ourselves violating certain things not because we're bad people, because we're ignorant. We didn't know this was wrong. And our disciplinary is not meant to be discriminatory or undue punishment, hardship, creating hardship. It's meant to educate. Okay? Because many times somebody may be committing the same violations, maybe for a long time before someone bring them up on charges. So when they brought up on charges, we try to educate. And both parties may be educated through the process, because sometimes people may claim, you have violated this, you have violated that, but then when they go through the grievance process, it is not. Okay? So there is also arbitration process available in the association, but that's not today's topic. Arbitration has something to do with money dispute. So sort of like disciplinary for professional standards is about ethics violations, rules violations. Monetary dispute is arbitration. That's a whole separate topic. If I do that, we'll be here until noon. Then the association has to buy everybody lunch and all that. That's not good. Okay? So, you may ask, what qualified these people to make this kind of decision on me? Who are they? They're just like me. Well, a little bit different. Grievance Committee and Professional Standards Committees and Board Directors, and which also includes the Ombudsman, they are practicing realtors, your peers. Remember, the good old thing is trial by peers, your peers, okay, who understand the real estate profession and understands the realtor code of ethics and MLS rules and regulations and how they're supposed to be applied. They receive the professional standards training from CAR. It is offered at our region every year. So we alternate between us and Citrus Valley, I believe. Every year we alternate the training location. But we have to be certified every 2 years. So in other words, if I attend the class this year, my certification will carry through the end of next year. If I miss next year's training, if I miss the third year's training, I'm no longer certified, I'm no longer qualified. I can still sit on the committee or the board of directors. It's just that I will not be qualified to render any decisions on any complaint cases. And believe me, Barbara keeps a very good tab. She'll send email says, this is your second year, so you must attend. Well, we have to drop everything. It's a whole day process. Board of directors stays here a whole day. Grievance committee is only half a day. And then professional standards and board director is the whole day. Why? Because they are involved in the hearing and the ratification decisions. So they're here the whole day. Grievance, because they only review and say, oh, the complaint stands and send it over. They don't make any kind of decision, so they're required only to sit through half day of training. Okay? So, the Ombudsman, Western Gabriel Valley Association of Realtors Ombudsmen are a cut above the rest of the ombudsmen because the association actually sent them to a Pepperdine University special course. It's a 1 week intensive training, 9 to 5, 1 week for a whole week. And at the end of the week, they received a certification from the Pepperdine University. I forgot what school. It was a school of something. Do you remember? Strauss. Okay, Strauss, yes. S-T-R-U-S-S, right? Strauss. So we received that certification. That means we're qualified to sit in on mediation cases, but we don't. We sit through, we become ombudsmen for the associations. By the way, all these are realtors and all these are volunteers. So I encourage you to get involved, and because you actually learn a lot of things for yourself by going through these process. You know, we can go through our real estate career and at the end of 20 years learn absolutely nothing, and except enriched our pocketbooks. But you know, I think it will be worth your while to get involved at the association, get involved in the committees, get involved with your board of directors. That's why, you know, we have elections. We always encourage newcomers because, you know, it's not good for an association to keep on having the old people, the same old, repeating themselves, okay? So, I has been informed because I've been out of the board of director for 2 years now. I believe, was it last year, Ling or Tom, the association decided to outsource the ethics complaint process to an attorney. I think it's John Giardinelli, the Ivar's attorney, right? Yeah, is it last year they made the decision?
This year.
This year, okay, so to outsource that, so it just happened. So how the intricacies of how that works, I'm not too sure. But what I have given you is a general background of how the entire process should work. And last but not least, let me prove to you the website is a member access only. And the website is not designed as a shame, board of shame. It is designed to educate people. So that's why I encourage you, when you go through the web, you know, when you have free times, go through the website, because when you read the statement of facts, you'll say, oh, so I can't do this. Oh, I better stop doing this. It is an education process, okay? Let me just very quickly, yes. CAR.org, we're all here before, and we usually just sign in and go to zip form. But let me prove to you, public does not have access. You go to the query search, okay? Keywords. Oh, code of ethics. You search that, it will bring you to a link. Okay? I previously logged in before, so my browser has a memory. Okay, you go to the code of ethics. Oh, it didn't. So you have to log in. I remember, you're not supposed to do this, but I always do it. I save my username and password on my computer, so my computer is ever lost, the public one. Okay, here is that website. And here you have the photo and the name and what association they're from, and how much they're fined. This person, without discussing, he's fined $7,500. And this here is the finding of facts. What did he do wrong? What happened? Blah blah blah. And the articles he's found guilty of is not to make false or misleading statements about other real estate professionals, their businesses, and their business practices. So in other words, do not disparage another realtor, correct?
Yeah.
So that kind of thing. Let me just go through some of the things. So I just want to let you see, but it's not. You think about bad photo, this person is really having a bad photo day, right? So anyway, but I don't want to, it is not intended to anyway. So you will you will actually see the finding of facts, okay? I'm not trying to shame those people. I just want to let you know you can learn a lot from reading what other people did to get discipline. So hopefully you won't do it. And many of us, I'm sure, many of the people in this room never been through this kind of grievance complaint process, okay?
Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell everyone what happens if you don't provide a photo?
Oh. The association will have to provide a photo. If you don't, they can suspend your membership. Okay? My time is up because I have until 9:15. Okay, one last question.
Okay, I belong to Western Gateway Port here.
Mhm.
The agent I want to complain belongs to another port. So who should I report to?
It will be a cross-board complaint. Check with Barbara on that process. Okay, check with Barbara. Barbara she's on vacation this week, but she will be able to help you on inter-board dispute. Okay, or Tom, do you know? Do you know the answer?
Yeah, the best thing to do is file, first come to Barbara and see if she wants to handle it. She may suggest that we file with the other board.
Mhm.
Or
Or sometimes it's sent to
CAR and,
a neutral board.
yeah, and then CAR appoints it.
Yeah, so it's an option. So that's why Barbara have to talk to the other board, and sometimes they'll find a neutral third board that's near us. For example, if it's between Western Gabriel and Arcadia, the neutral board, closest one may be PFAR, so anyway, thank you.